Yes, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in the platform of International Lecture Series of the Historical Development of Anthropology in Asia. So today the lecture number 7, and we are very glad that we have today with Professor Praneeth Abhayasundere from Department of Anthropology, University of Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka. Today he will speak on the historical development of anthropology and social sciences in Sri Lankan perspectives. So in this program, now I'd like to share this platform to Dr. Pushpalata Digga to further proceedings. Pushpalata.
I'm audible. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, sir. Very good afternoon, everyone. Our organizing committee and all the members, those are present here. We are very thankful to Suman sir and all our members that today is the 7th lecture program we attend, and our guest lecturer, Dr. Praneeth Abhayasundere sir, is also present here. Okay, I'm not dealing the program, so I would like to call Dr. Ratan Tayang sir from DNGC College. Please, sir, over to you, sir. Please, for your small speak about welcome address. Ratan sir.
Yes, Dr. Ratna, are you here?
Hello, Dr. Ratan sir.
I think some connectivity problem is going on to the Ratna also, because he is living in the hilly terrain, so that is why there is some problem. Anyway, from the organizing committee, I'd like to welcome all the audience. Dr. Ratna, are you here? Ratna, can you hear me? Ratna, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Yes, now you can give the welcome address, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You can proceed now.
Dr. Ratna Tayang, on the behalf of the Department of Anthropology, Dera Natung Government College, Itanagar, India, Mrinalini Datta, Mahavidyapith, Birari, West Bengal, India, and the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka, extend a very warm welcome to this international lecture series on the historical development of anthropology as a discipline in Asia. It's a great pleasure to welcome our today's speaker, Professor Praneeth Abhayasundere, Head Department of Anthropology, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka. I also welcome all the audience from different corners of India and for joining us today. The main idea behind organizing this lecture series is to bring together anthropologists from Asia to disseminate, cultivate, and engage anthropological knowledge under single umbrella. Thank you all for joining us today. Over to you, Suman sir.
Yes, I think Pushpalata.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you, Dr. Ratan sir, and thank you, Suman sir. Okay, now we just proceed to our program. First of all, it is my heartiest honor and to introduce Dr. Praneeth Abhayasundere sir is a professor in the Anthropology Department, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka, MA in Sociology, post-graduation diploma in Writership and Communication in 1993 from the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Pure. PhD in Sociology in 1997 from Banaras Hindu University from Varanasi. Professor Abhayasundere has written many books and articles on different topics and various subjects. He is a lyricist also and awarded the State Literacy Award in 2005 for classical literature and in 2016 for the best lyricist. He was also awarded the Bunka Award from the Japanese Embassy in Sri Lanka in 2008 for lyric writing. Professor Abhayasundere was awarded the Kalasuri title at the National Honor 2017 and Best Lyricist for the movie Patthini at the Sydney Salutation in the 2017. He is a former president of All Ceylon Buddhist Congress. He is also an active social worker in areas such as drug prevention and child protection. So, welcome, sir. We are very glad to hear your presentation or lecture, sir. Over to you, sir. Praneeth, sir.
Thank you very much. Namaste, all of you. Good afternoon. I am very grateful to you all, especially the organizing committee, for giving this opportunity to deliver about historical development of anthropology as a discipline in Sri Lanka. So, with the help of my colleagues, Dr. Anand Taraka Anand and Kanishka Vijayaratna, I am going to do this. So, first of all, as you watch, this is historical development of anthropology as a discipline in Sri Lanka. Next, the location map of Sri Lanka. The location map of Sri Lanka, island country, lying in the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka's documented history goes back about 3,000 years with evidence of his prehistoric human settlements. And also Sri Lanka's geographic location and deep harbors from early times have made it of great strategic importance. Ancient Greek geographers called it Taprovan, from the word Tambapanni, Tamraparni from in Sanskrit, Pearl of the Indian Ocean, Isle of Gems, Granary of East, Isle of Dharma, Ceylon, Tambapanni. There are many names from we can read from the travel writing or travel logs. Sri Lanka, a land like no other, as a British crown colony. The island was known as Ceylon. It achieved independence as a dominion of Ceylon in 1948, 4th February. In 1972, it became a republic, and later on, 7th September 1978, it was changed to the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. According to the Pali Mahavansa, a Pali chronicle written in the 5th century CE, the original inhabitants of Sri Lanka are said to be the Yakshas and Nagas. With the arrival of Prince Vijaya from India, Sinhalese history traditionally starts. We believe that. Sri Lanka, the early modern period of Sri Lanka begins with the arrival of Portuguese soldier and explorer Lorenzo de Almeida, the son of Francisco de Almeida, in 1505. During the reign of the Rajasingha II, Dutch explorers arrived on the country in 1638. Great Britain occupied the coastal areas of the island, which they called Ceylon, in 1796. In 1815, Kandy was occupied by the Britishers in the Second Kandyan War, ending Sri Lanka's independence. The Salisbury Constitution ushered in Dominion status with independence proclaimed on 4th February 1948. So the next one, you can see Sinhala and Tamil. Sinhala and Tamil are the two official languages, and the constitution defines English as the link language. Link language. Buddhism is the largest and is considered as an official religion of Sri Lanka under Chapter 2, Article 9. The Republic of Sri Lanka shall give to Buddhism the foremost place, and accordingly it shall be the duty of the state to protect and foster the Buddha Sasana order, Buddha Sasana order. Hinduism was the dominant religion in Sri Lanka before the arrival of Buddhism in the 3rd century. And various beliefs, system of beliefs were in this country. If you want to read pre-Buddhist belief system, eminent scholar Professor Senarath Paranavithana has written that article to the Royal Asiatic Society, Journal of Royal Asiatic Society, last century, 1928, I think so. Islam is the 3rd most prevalent religion in the country, and Christianity reached the country through Western colonists in the early 16th century. Anthropological and sociological interest in Sri Lankan culture and society began to grow during different historical periods. Anthropology emerged in the colonial period and very much connected to colonial rule. Sociology initially evolved in Sri Lanka under the guidance of an American scholarly intervention, largely due to the appointment of Bryce Ryan. He, as the first professor of sociology at the University of Ceylon in the early 1950s, he wrote eminent 2 books, outstanding books. One is Cast in Modern Ceylon, 1953, and Sinhalese Village, 1951. In 1835, Royal Asiatic Society was established Sri Lanka. Here. To the best of my knowledge, 1784, in India, especially in Kolkata, Royal Asiatic Society Asia Research was the society was established. This is Sri Lankan branch since 1835. 1863, Bailey. 1886, Saracen Brothers, and the origin of the anthropological research tradition in Sri Lanka can be traced back to at least the British colonial period. According to the various scholars, the ethnographic work of Seligman, Charles and Brenda Seligman. Before that, I spoke earlier, 1863 Bailey, 1886 Saracen Brothers, 1941 Hill, and also Nandadeva Vijayasekara, Dr. R.L. Spittle wrote about Vedda people. Those are the very good, outstanding scholarly works regarding Vedda community. According to the various scholars, the ethnographic work of Seligman, I mentioned earlier, Charles and Brenda Seligman on the Aboriginal Vedda community in 1911 can be considered as the beginning of this tradition. So, we can move on to the Dr. Nandadeva Vijayasekara. Pandit Dr. Nandadeva Vijayasekara is the first Sri Lankan who graduated with the major in anthropology and archaeology from Trinity College, Cambridge in 1936. His prominent fields: anthropology, archaeology, ethnology, religious studies, Sri Lankan art, Sinhala literature. To the best of my remembrance, my knowledge, he studied in Calcutta University earlier. So, Dr. Nandadeva Vijayasekara written selected writings, his experiences about the fields, works in anthropology, art, Buddhism. In 1987, I quote this quotation. This is very important for this discourse. From the time I worked in ethnology, I felt that anthropology should be a popular subject in Sri Lanka. I started teaching this as a subject in Vidyalankara Pirivena. At that time, Vidyalankara Pirivena was established in 1875. Now we call Kelaniya University of Kelaniya. Earlier, Vidyodaya Pirivena, established in 1873, Vidyodaya Pirivena became a university, Vidyodaya University. Now we call it University of Sri Jayewardenepura. So, I started teaching this as a subject in Vidyalankara Pirivena. I have given public speeches in teacher training colleges and other Pirivenas, discussed making this a subject with the Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Ivor Jennings. He is the pioneer Vice Chancellor in Sri Lanka from Britishers from England. He did not listen to that teaching of anthropology. That is the pathetic situation at that time. So Ivor Jennings, very nice person. When we read about himself, about that he has a autobiography, Road to Peradeniya. But he did not allow to learn or teach anthropology in Sri Lanka, except that he introduced sociology to the University of Peradeniya. From American professor Bryce Rand came to Sri Lanka, and he started with the works in sociology. Pandit Dr. Nandadeva Vijayasekara, his studies were focused on various types of people like Sinhala community, Vedda people, Kinnara people, Vanni people, Rodi people, Dravidic people, Marakkar people, Kafas, Malay people, Mukkara people, Paravara and Kuravara people, Sinhala community, Vedda people, Kinnara people, Vanni people, Rodi people, Dravidic people, Marakkar people, Kafas, Malay people, Mukkar people, Paravara and Kuravara people. Pandit Nandadeva Vijayasekara wrote many articles and books, but I have mentioned few publications here. In Sinhala, Salalihini Sandeshaya, Navalanka Natya, Lanka Janatava, Lankave Parani Situam, Parani Sinhala Patima Shilpaya, Vesmuhunuha Kolam, Peddangi Vikashana Krame, Siddhartha Gautama Budurajanan Mahanse, Toragat, Lipi Sangraya. In English, Anthropological Gleanings from Sinhala Literature. Anthropological Gleanings from Sinhala Literature. Actually, it is a very small book, but very useful to read. Early Sinhalese painting, people of Ceylon, ancient art, painting and sculpture of Ceylon, early Sinhalese sculpture, heritage of Sri Lanka, Vedas in transition, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, and selected writings. Anthropology and Sri Lanka, I am moving on to Martin Wickramasinghe. According to various scholars, there were no any research publication while Wickramasinghe started to write anthropology in Sri Lanka. Wickramasinghe is one of the prominent persons who campaigned for the establishment of a department of anthropology at the University of Ceylon, University of Peradeniya. His Sattva Santatiya in Sinhala medium, animal continuity or evolution of animals, is one of the significant works that was taken place during the British period of Sri Lanka. Under that book, he constructed several elements in physical anthropology such as animal evolution, human evolution, paleontology and archaeology for Sri Lankan readers. Wickramasinghe, next slide. Wickramasinghe stated about the importance of Sinhala language and the way we can protect the independence and the pattern of culture through it. Wickramasinghe stated about the importance of Sinhala language and the way we can protect the independence and the pattern of culture through it. Among the various ideas of Martin Wickramasinghe, he emphasized the meaning of culture as a character of a particular human category. He comparatively expressed his ideas, thoughts about the diffusionism as an ordinary process which take place in every society. Martin Wickramasinghe is a keen person of scientific works on evolution, and he has long been a sympathizer of the evolutionary understanding of the universe and of human society. Wickramasinghe's anthropological ideas helped him to write his novels. He was an eminent novelist and short story writer. He wrote Gahania, a woman, that is the first short story written in 1924. Vikramasinghe's anthropological ideas helped him to write his novels preciously and realistically. Social change is one of the prominent concepts studied in anthropology, and Vikramasinghe used it successfully in his novels and short stories. In 1962, Anthropological Society of University of Sri Jayewardenepura published the second issue of their Journal of Anthropology. In Sinhala, some articles written in English also, Mahavidyapith. For this publication, Vikramasinghe provided an article, and it is one of the significant incident for the department as well as the university. Under the heading of Mahavidyapith Bhashava in Sinhala, we can say in English, anthropology and language. He emphasized the importance of language in the field of anthropology. He described preciously of studying anthropology and the importance of it for a country like Sri Lanka. Marty Vikramasinghe was inspired by the works of Charles Darwin at that time. Therefore, Charles Darwin's The Origin of the Species book, he read that book, Marty Vikramasinghe, and wrote a Sinhala book inspiring the origin of the species. Before move to the next section slide, I must consider, or I have to say about Dr. A.P. de Soisa. Dr. A.P. de Soisa, outstanding historian, Professor Kumari Jayewardene's father. He did his PhD in Oxford University in 1928, Southern Sri Lankan Village Rituals, Belief Systems. That book now published in Sri Lanka, 1928. He is the first PhD holder in our country, in this country. So, 1967, anthropological section branch opened in Sri Lankan Museum in Sri Lanka. We have to mention that factor also. Saddharma Ratnavaliya, Saddharmalankaraya, Pujavaliya. Saddharma Ratnavaliya, Saddharmalankaraya, Pujavaliya were the books written by Venerable Mahasangha in 12th, 13th century. In these books revealed common people's social information we can gather from those books. We have to think about these books now in Saddharma Ratnavaliya we can read in English medium. So this scholars contributed to Sri Lankan anthropology. You can watch You can see these scholars. Ralph Peris, he wrote a book about social, Sinhalese social organization, Kandyan period. Kandyan music, one eminent article written by Mahawalatanne Bandara, Sirimavo Bandaranayaka Prime Minister's father to Royal Asiatic Society. I must mention Ralph Peris is the first Sinhalese professor served in Peradeniya University Social Department of Sociology, and world famous scholar Anand Kumaraswamy. Normally, in Southeast Asian scholars know about his works. Edmund Leach, E.R. Leach, Edmund Leach, Noor Yalman, Kitsiri Malalgod, H.L. Seniviratna, Bruce Kaffer, Stanley Jayaraj Tambayya, Professor Gananath Obesekar, Richard Gomridge, Nanda Sena Ratnapal, Professor, Dr. Sarath Tamunugama, Professor Sasanka Pereira, Professor Premakumar De Silva, Professor Kalinga Tudor Silva, Professor Chamali Nahal, Professor Yasanjali Devika Pereira, Dr. Nelum Kanti, Dr. Taraka Anand, Professor Lakshman Vaidyasekara, Professor Paulus Edward Peris Daranigal, P.E.P. Daranigal, Professor Siran Daranigal, Professor Lakshman Vaidyasekara, Nandadeva Vijayasekara, Professor Senarath Paranavitan, Professor Samanthi Kulatilaka. I am very proud of these scholars, pioneers in physical anthropology. Actually, Paranavitana, Dharaniyagala, Lakshman Vaidyasekara, Chamali, Siran Dharaniyagala, Taraka, Samanthi and Nelum, and Ravindra Itanachi works in our department. Professor Yasanjali is working in Department of Anthropology. She did her PhD in Jawaharlal Nehru University, especially socialization in Vedas women. And also, we have to mention Dr. Jayanta Jayasiri. He is the medical anthropologist. Did his PhD in Pune University. His topic was the health policy in Sri Lanka. Okay, early concerns of Sri Lankan anthropology. The much of anthropology in post-independence Sri Lanka focused on issues like caste and class system. Class system, when we are referring class system, I must mention about Professor Newton Gunasinghe's name. He worked in Colombo, University of Colombo. Kinship system, land tenure, and popular religion. The foreign anthropologists who conducted much of their research on Sri Lanka came mainly from British, American, German, Australian, Canadian universities. In Sri Lanka, there was a very outstanding scholar monk, Venerable Hikkadue Sri Sumangala. About his works, we had a book written by Anne Blackburn, Professor Anne Blackburn. She is an anthropologist. And also Mohotivatte Gunananda Thero. About his life and works, Richard Young, American professor, lived in Japan. He did some scholarly works about him. And Anagarika Dharmapala, Dr. Sarath Tamanugama, Stephen Kemper, Ananda Guruge, so many articles and books we can read about his works. The local anthropological, sociological tradition was mainly built upon the work of Gananath Obesekar and S.J. Tambaya, Stanley Tambaya. Since the early 1980s, Sri Lankan anthropology has shifted attention to study group violence in Sri Lankan society. Violence, terrorism, ethnic issues, gender issues. Before that, I have to mention another name also, Dr. Susantha Gunatilaka. He is an engineer, electrical engineer, did sociology, did PhD in sociology, but he wrote a interesting book, Anthropologizing Sri Lanka, Ceylon. The post-independence generations of sociologists and anthropologists who made significant contributions in this area included Newton Gunasinghe, Siripala Hettige and Kalinga Tudor Silva also. Kalinga Tudor Silva. University of Sri Jayewardenepura. Earlier we called Vidyodaya University. Now University of Sri Jayewardenepura. And Sri Lankan Anthropology. University of Sri Jayewardenepura is the first university that started anthropology as an academic discipline in Sri Lanka. Venerable Valivitiya Sri Soratha Thero, the former Vice-Chancellor of Vidyodaya, at that time Vidyodaya University, now University of Sri Jayewardenepura, established the Department of Anthropology in 1960s as a novel field of study in Sri Lankan social sciences aspect. Professor P.E.P. Dharaniyagal, former Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences of University of Sri Jayewardenepura, is the first professor and the head of the Department of Anthropology. Museum, scholars in museum in Sri Lanka, they helped to teach and research works with the collaboration in our university. I don't know, you can see this book. This is about Sinhala Natung, Dancers of the Sinhalese, written by M.D. Raghavan from India. He was working in our museum. So he did Handsome Beggars, Sinhala Natung, eminent articles and books for Sri Lankan society, culture, anthropological, ethnological perspectives, music or aesthetic disciplines. We had a very nice books about Helagimaga, Sinhalese music, written by W.B. Makulolu. Origin and evolution of Sinhala music, written by C. Das Kulatilaka. So, in 1960, next slide. In 1960, the Anthropological Society of University of Sri Jayewardenepura published their first academic journal, Mahavidyapith. You can see this, which means the anthropology. Mahavidya, Mahavidya, Mahavidya. Next slide. Volume 1 in 1960. These are the contents in Sinhala medium. So, Marty Vikramasinghe's photograph. And the next slide, you can see the Daraniagalas, Professor Daraniagalas, Shiran Daraniagalas' father photograph. International conferences. University of Sri Jayewardenepura and Sri Lankan Anthropology, I must say, we organized international conferences, academic publications, ahead project activities, anthropology field schools with the collaboration from Canada with the help of Professor Samanthi Kulatilak, research, colloquiums, and to wind up, before the wind up this meeting, this discussion, I must mention about Vidyalankara University, that is Kelaniya University. Kelaniya University started folklore as a discipline to study and learn, to do research. At that time, since 1960s, pioneer scholar Dr. Amaradasa Veerasinghe. He trained in Pennsylvania, and S.G. Samarasinghe. We have a very nice journal called Sanskriti. Okay, the final slide. This is our academic staff of the Department of Anthropology. Dr. Sepala Samarasekar, one of our colleagues, he did Kinnara people in Dumbara region in Sri Lanka. Dr. Taraka, Dr. Jayanta, Professor Yasanjali, myself, Chamali, Professor Chamali, Dr. Ravindra, and Dr. Nelu. You can see. So, my conclusion. Today, more than 15 universities in the country offer at least undergraduate courses in anthropology. The coexistence of anthropological and sociological traditions in teaching, courses, research, and publications is evident to varying degrees across the university system. Some Sinhala departments they studied and they teach about some anthropological topics. Professor Edirivira Sarachandra, Professor A.V. Suravira, Professor Tissakari Vasa, Professor Chandrasiri Guru, Professor Sunanda Mahendra. They had very much interested in these fields. What is noteworthy is the considerable diversity among academic institutions in terms of quality of teaching, research, and publications, and the connection of academics to long-standing traditions in anthropology. So, thank you very much for listening to me. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. This is very informative session. Is there any questions? Anyone? Any queries? Please ask.
There, Taraka, where are you? Taraka,
Yes, I'm here, sir. I'm
uh,
here, sir.
you can say some about physical anthropology regarding this code. Okay, if
Yes,
they
yes.
want. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
If anybody has any question, kindly put in the chat box, or if you can directly communicate to our resource person today.
Did you do the recording of this? Okay,
Yes, it is recording. Okay.
so you can put the website to or also
Yes,
to
yes,
listen.
definitely.
Yes, okay.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
near future we can write about article uh,
Yeah,
regarding this
definitely.
subject. Okay, okay.
Definitely.
We can send.
Now
Okay,
I'm
okay.
searching
Thank you
Professor
very much.
Zoom. Professor Zoom, are you here? Professor Zoom, are you here? Professor Zoom, can you hear
Yes,
me?
I'm here. I'm here. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. So we should begin with your comments, right? I think so. So what's your feeling regarding the Sri Lankan anthropological development?
Um, thank you very much for your very interesting talk. I really learned a lot about the history of anthropology in Sri Lanka. I just had one question. Because I was thinking of the colonial legacy of anthropology in South Korea when you were referring to the eminent anthropologists during the colonial time in Sri Lanka. And so generally in South Korea, anthropologists, not just anthropologists, but other discipline, scholars in other disciplines as well, that we just don't want to talk about the colonial time very much. It's a collective trauma that there is a tendency that we don't really acknowledge the anything. Well, I think we have a lot that was carried on to this day from the colonial time, but we just don't want to really acknowledge it. But in your talk, you really acknowledged a lot about the colonial time. So I was wondering, what is the general perception among anthropologists as well as intellectuals in general about the colonial time in Sri Lanka?
Especially Dr. Susanta Gunatilaka, I mentioned his name. He wrote a book about anthropologizing Sri Lanka. He against this colonial anthropology you have mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, young scholars like Taraka, Ravindra, Tara, Kanishka Vijayaratna, my colleague and my colleagues from the department, they are trying to do new perspective, new research in new perspectives. What colonials, Britishers did in Sri Lanka. They gathered our cultural traits, features, our books, Ola leaves, chronicles to their facility. So we have to research about archaeological sites and the literary works and the common people. These are very open questions nowadays. Thank you.
Yes, another question, Dr. Suchishmita Sen Chaudhuri, one of our colleagues, she put the question is, what is the present research trend in Sri Lanka? In the priorities, during 1980s, you said that there is a priority of the violence of the society, right? So, what are the different priorities of the Sri Lankan anthropological research work?
Earlier, we had village studies studies in Buddhism, Hinduism, rituals, magic belief systems about irrigation system, especially tanks, hydraulic civilization, kinship. After independence, in 1915, we had a problem with Sinhala Muslim dispute, conflict. And in 1958, there was a hartal with the Tamil people and the Sinhala people. 1956, Prime Minister Bandaranayake was assassinated. After that, Sirimavu Bandaranayake, his wife, became a Prime Minister. 1971, we became a Republic of Sri Lanka, Republic country. 1971, youth unrest, youth rebellions, JVP movement attacked to the country. In 1983, there is a big problem with the Jaffna area, Tamil and Sinhalese, Tamil and the government military system. So again, 1989 and the 1990, we had a very big problem, youth problem, JVP problem. So nowadays, gender studies, terrorism, ethnic conflicts, multiculturalism, there are so many research works happened in Sri Lanka.
Thank you.
These are
Now
ongoing.
Yes. To request Dr. Tharaka, can you tell what the different priority areas of doing research in physical anthropology?
Tharaka,
Actually,
can
sir,
you speak?
yes, sir. Sir, in Sri Lanka, as Praneeth sir mentioned, that cultural anthropology is taught in many universities. Like in the sociology department, there are some of the units to teach cultural anthropology. But the thing is that our university is the only university that we have in present Sri Lanka, which is offering physical anthropology. Okay, then in the physical anthropology, especially nowadays, actually we are working on forensic anthropological research, and of course some of the researches which are connected with the archaeology and geoarchaeology, and some are especially with the primatological knowledge that of course led by the Professor Chamalina Halage. We have a primatological laboratory in our university, in our department, and of course from the physical anthropology, most advanced and most extended area is primatology in Sri Lanka at the moment. And on the other hand, about the cephalic indexes and anthropometry especially, we are doing researches on the anthropometry, and also we are extending our researches toward the anthropometry and the differences, variation among the people biologically, especially considering the anthropometric measurements. And also, as I told you, forensic anthropological research, nutritional status of the people, which are like village people, and we are comparing the nutritional status of the people from various type of rural villages, and what are the nutritional issues that they have, and then we are going to give them some of the solutions regarding their nutritional status. And sometimes we are working on, as I told you, archaeology and osteology, especially bones of the monkeys. We are working on that as well. Those are the things that we are at present we are working on the physical anthropological researches. And also under the physical anthropology, we are talking about genetic variations of the primates in Sri Lanka. We have a genetic laboratory in our country, and genetic variations among the population of Sri Lanka, especially Datta people and the Cafe people. This type of genetic studies are also going on in Sri Lanka pertaining to the forensic, especially physical anthropological field.
And we have to mention also environmental pollution, economic system,
Yes, yes,
family politics
yes,
in
sir.
Sri Lankan context.
Yes.
Very much interested in this. I think you have known Professor Sasanka Pereira. He works in South Asian University in Delhi. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, is there any other questions? Anyone from this platform? If
Actually,
not,
I
then
have to mention one thing, sir. Yes, I have to mention one thing, sir, because the
Yes, yes.
anthropology is a very, like, anthropology is we have to consider when it comes to Sri Lanka, anthropology as a very new subject to our country. So it is still growing subject, anthropology. Actually, it is growing. Our university is the one who first introduced a special degree in anthropology. Now there are at about 10 staff members of the department, and we are the one who are giving, especially Praneeth sir and Professor Chamali Nahalage, they are the one who are disseminating their knowledge to other universities to have anthropology as a subject in their universities. So still in Sri Lanka, anthropology is growing.
Thank you.
That's great. That's great. So, if there is no question, then I would like to highlight some of the points that first of all, it is our privilege that we jointly organize this international lecture series with Department of Anthropology of Sri Jayewardenepura University. So, as because today I heard that this is the pioneer for opening the Department of Anthropology in Sri Lanka. So it is our extremely happy. Second things from the lecture, what I got that Dr. Tharakananda, one of our colleagues, and also our collaborator, she is the pioneer of physical anthropology in Sri Lanka. So it is our happiest moment for us that that obviously in the coming time she will have the great contribution she will make. We hope that for the enrichment of the anthropology in Sri Lanka. Now, third things I just noted that we got the name of the father of Sri Lankan anthropology. I don't know whether Professor Martin Vikramasinghe is called the father of Sri Lankan anthropology.
No. I must correct that. Martin Vikramasinghe is an ethnographer.
Okay.
Oh. But he was very interesting about this.
Who is the father of anthropology, if you'll say, in Sri Lanka?
Dr. Nandadev Vijayasekara. Dharaniyagala, father,
okay,
and yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the four things I just saw that the researchers from the Western world, they came to the Sri Lanka and did and contributed a lot. So apart from that, there is some colonial exposure in Sri Lankan studies in early part before independence. So and now another important things I should mention that in the lecture of in this particular lecture that Sri Lankan research in 1980s is basically based on the ethnic conflict and also the terrorism. So that is another angle we should consider about this. Now specifically I have, as because I am from physical anthropology background, I am doing the work in the bioculture and biosocial aspects. So much of the time when I gone through the different papers, today I very much understood why the name of the journal, that is Ceylon Medical Journal. The Ceylon Medical Journal, basically I think the oldest journal, medical journal in Sri Lanka. That is why it is called the Ceylon Medical Journal. So it is very good journal, whatever I realized. Now the thing is that as a student of anthropology, my interest goes to the Vedas. Now, so when I gone through the different texts of the Vedas, I noted that there is a strong connection of the militia the migration of the Malaysian Vedas. And so is there any story behind this? Can you highlight that whether the Vedas are the autochthones of the Sri Lanka or they are migrated from the different, coming from the other part of the countries or other part of the world?
Professor Vinny Vitarana wrote a book about Yatra, Kajans, boats. He was very interesting about these subjects. I think, and health sector also in medical anthropology, especially traditional medicine, medical systems. So I think that you have mentioned in this area, we can research to the in the near future.
Yes, yes. That's great. That's great. I hope that the Sri Lankan anthropology have great opportunity to carry on the project and to do the extensive, in-depth, critical research work, because now the anthropologists are unfolding in the different aspects, not only confined with a specific angle like social culture anthropology or physical anthropology, but they are dealing with some of the problem. And now this pandemic also opened our thought, and I think Sri Lankan government, they are doing extremely good job in the initial stage to restrict the pandemic scenario. I have gone through the different statistics of the Sri Lankan, how they are doing. And Dr. Thalaka, can you remember that you said that you are doing also some of the work about the militarization of the people, how their value system and the norms are affected of the different pressures. So this is also another area we should think about it. It's a good one. So this is a great opportunity for us also to think the Sri Lankan anthropology. It has great traditions. And thank you, Professor Praneeth, for your coming and delivering your talk. And hopefully in future, we will also stay connected, and we will do some collaborative research work along with across the different countries also in Asian nations. Now I would like to over the
Muted. It cannot listen your voice. Disconnected voice. Audio problem is there.
Yes.
Suman sir, we cannot hear you. Suman sir. Suman sir, we cannot hear you.
Muted.
Suman sir. He's talking.
Kolkata, ma'am, you can proceed the program.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you,
much.
Ratan sir. Okay, thank you, Suman sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Abhayasundere sir and Taraka ma'am for this question answer session and the informative session. And at last, I would like to inform Shashwati Roy ma'am, our member from MDM College, to give vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Respected sir, it seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all of who have helped us in making these special lectures a very resounding success. First of all, I would like to give my hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Professor Praneeth, Abhayasundere, head of the Department of Anthropology, University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka, for gracing today's lecture. Thank you, sir, for making today's lecture excellent presentation and making this lecture very meaningful and interest. I would like to give my vote of thanking the coordinators and members of all the events for making this lecture series a great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
everyone.
very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
All
Thank
of
you,
you,
sir.
Taraka and Kanishka, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let this means
Suman sir, we cannot hear you.
Suman sir, not hearing you. No, sir. No sound.
No sound.
No sound, sir.
Voice. We cannot hear his voice.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Taraka ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very
Everyone.
much, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.